Great. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to tell you a story so you can all relax. But it's a story about what is truly possible to achieve together. I believe that I'm one of the messengers here at the conference, and my message is one of hope. But my message also is about personal leadership. Every single person in this room is a leader, and we need to lead as best we possibly can. Otherwise, people will not take us seriously. One word that Amy missed out in her excellent introduction, let's get this straight. I am the first person in history stupid enough to have walked to both bloody poles. 900 miles to the south, 700 miles to the north. And if you are that person, and I am, I guarantee you that Rob Swan standing here is only sure of four things. First and foremost, I'm sure I hate bloody walking. I've done enough. Secondly, translated into American for you, the coldest day I ever will be in is minus 87 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a bit chilly. And at that temperature, sweat turns to ice inside your clothes. So the second thing I'm sure of is that to date I do not enjoy having ice in my underpants. It's yet to thrill. Thirdly, at the age of 60, it's sad but true, no insurance company has got the courage to give me life cover. You're going to understand clearly why. And lastly, which I think is hugely important, in after all, a really negative world, we do live in one. And I think it is incredibly easy to be negative, to complain. It's really easy. And what I've learnt in a very modest way to stay alive, that it is best to be the positive person around the table. I think that is one of the most important things about leadership. Now imagine walking 900 miles to one building about the size of the lobby here, the South Pole Scientific Station. If we can pull the lights down, I'd appreciate that at the same time. And a map of where you're going, ladies and gentlemen, looks pretty much like the screen here now. This is the map of your journey to the South Pole. After 900 miles, you've lost 69 pounds in body weight, so you're a bit thin, but you made it. And the other thing I want to be clear about is that walking to both poles is completely pointless. But the point was, for us, we were proud of what we had achieved. And being proud, I believe, is worth it. Then buy some aeroplanes, you find yourself standing at Heathrow Airport, a bit thin, you haven't had a bath or shower for a year. That's even extreme for an Englishman. You know, you haven't seen your girlfriend for a year, there's lots of excitement, but the first thing you're told is you have to go on a TV chat show. The first question you're asked is, was it cold, Bob? And at that second, you know there's hope, because you can't be the only stupid person on the planet. And eventually, they ask one good question, and the question is, why did you do this? Well, this was the last time I was properly dressed at the age of 11. Check out the haircut. And today has everything to do with not forgetting our dreams. It's very easy to let dreams like ice melt through your fingers. Don't forget the dream, because without a dream, you can't inspire. And I was lucky to see a film about the great explorers when I was 11, and I said, right, I'm doing this. I was inspired by the great stories of the real explorers, Scott, Shackleton, Amundsen. But I have to say I was truly inspired because the idea of becoming a polar traveller went down extremely well with girls at parties. So I thought, definitely the career to follow. Now, in order to undertake this expedition, I had to raise $5 million US. People now can go to Antarctica on an aeroplane. 30 years ago, you had to buy a ship. It took years to raise the money, and eventually we get our ship, Southern Quest, and we head south across the ocean, past South Africa, across now south of New Zealand. Things get a bit rough, and I'm thinking maybe we should have gone to the Bahamas or somewhere sensible. And we arrive on the shores of the most hopeful place on earth, Antarctica, the only place in the world that all of us own. No one owns Antarctica. It is truly the last great wilderness left on earth. If you ever think you've had a bad day, try this one. 3,000 miles from civilization. No iPhone 7 to ring up mummy. You won't be connected for a year because it wasn't invented. So 5 of us wave goodbye to our ship. We have no communications at all for the next year and hope like hell the ship comes back to collect us. 5 of us go into our tiny little home, and now we wait 9 months. 4 months of total darkness with 5 people who hated each other, even in London. I did not choose all my best friends for this expedition. Have the courage as a leader to choose people who challenge you, people who push you, disagree with you. That's strong. If everybody's saying yes, it's weak. We came through 9 months in this hut. 2 simple things. We told each other the truth, and we listened, or tried to listen truly to what each other was saying. Then 3 of us line up our equipment. What is extraordinary is that 30 years ago, good work on the water, by the way, it's delicious. I think I should be leading the board on hydration so far. I've been on it. But there's 2 things about Antarctica that are important, and what's really important about water is Antarctica's more of a desert than the central Sahara. So the first thing you die of in Antarctica is not hunger or starvation, it's dehydration. But in this photograph 30 years ago, there were no electronics at all. Nothing. We had no radio communication, no press a button on a satellite to tell us where we are. We will navigate using the sun, a sextant and a watch, 900 miles to one building. If we fail, we die. We have no backup. 80 days of food and fuel on each sled. 9 hours a day, 7 days a week. We must cross crevasses. And if you fall into a crevasse, it's game over. Because we carried no ropes or ladders because you can't eat them. So if you fall in a crevasse, you hope like hell you die, because it would be a bad day to look up and wave goodbye to your friends a couple of 100 feet above you. But through trust, as Amy said, through trust, we came through 6,000 of these death traps. Halfway to the South Geographic Pole, we then commit. Either go back to base 500 miles or go on to the pole. Remember, no backup, no radio, no ways of getting out. We now must find that one building, the South Pole Station, in a center of an area the size of the United States of America. And in this photograph, We are in that area and we are entirely alone. Think of that. And if you twist an ankle or break a leg, you're given 24 hours to recover, then you're left to die. And beneath our feet in this photograph, 16,000 feet of solid ice. 90% of all the world's ice, we're standing on it. 70% of all the world's fresh water, we're standing on it in this photograph. And ladies and gentlemen, mark my words, please. If we continue to melt this, we swim. Now at this stage, we're just aiming for the South Geographic Pole. Nothing on our minds are, hopefully we're on target. As we close in on the pole, our ship, Southern Quest, should have returned to our base camp from New Zealand. They should have unloaded an aeroplane onto an iceberg. The plane will fly to the pole, look for us. And if they find us, we get on the plane, go back to the base, and do something that we promised to do. To raise $5 million at the age of 23, needed help, because I'd never been camping. All I had was the dream. So it wasn't the strongest sales pitch. So I needed help. And I hope some of you might remember the name Jacques Cousteau. Well, Jacques Cousteau was a personal friend and a patron of my little expedition. And he helped me raise the money. He gave me credibility. Do you know what? The greatest thing any of you can do is to give somebody else credibility. It's the greatest gift you can give. When somebody's trying to get something going, give them your credibility. He gave me his. But being Jacques, he said, by the way, Robert, you've got to do something for me. At the end of your expedition, remove all of your garbage, all of your rubbish, leave just your footsteps in the snow. So at the end of the expedition, fly back to the base, load everything up, head north. That's the plan. Those last few miles to the pole, nerve-wracking. Had we made one mistake on our calculations, we would have arrived at the South Pole and there was nothing there. Walked round in circles for a week, dead. But I was with the best. I didn't do this, we did it. And we arrived 300 yards off course, navigating using the sun, the sextant, and the watch. We had done this. We stood there and we were so proud. It was such a great moment. Everybody said we'd die. All we did was get thin. And out of the base at South Pole Scientific Station, they do excellent scientific work there. The base commander came out and said, sorry, Rob, bad news. Your ship just sank 5 minutes ago. Just the sort of bloody thing you want to hear when you've walked 900 miles in 70 days, that your ship sank 5 minutes earlier. I fill in lottery tickets with great hope. Why? Because the odds of winning the lottery are better than losing your ship 5 minutes before you arrive at the South Pole when you've spoken to no one for a year. Most important thing is that everybody's safe. That's all that counts. But remember, I had made a promise to Jacques Cousteau, and standing at the South Pole wasn't quite as I'd imagined it when I was 11. But you know something? We make leadership complicated. We make it complicated. Leadership, in my humble opinion, is really simple. You should think carefully before you make a commitment, especially in our world. There's a lot of words. Think carefully before you make a commitment, and when you make that commitment, deliver on it. That's leadership. And standing at the South Pole, I thought, I've got to finish this job. And to cut a really long story short, it would take an extra year of our lives to get another ship to come to Antarctica, remove all of our garbage, remove all of our equipment, and deliver on our promise to the great Jacques Cousteau. Job done. Now, something happened to me walking to the South Pole that changed everything. My eyes changed colour in 70 days through damage. Our faces blistered out, the skin ripped off. We didn't know why. When we got home, we were told why. Yes, we'd walked under the hole in the ozone layer the year it was discovered. Fabulous. Ultraviolet rays down, bounced off the ice, fried out our eyes, and burnt our faces off. It's quite painful to have blisters in your eyes. And I'm a bit slow, but it started me thinking that maybe some of these issues of survival on Earth are not somebody else's problem. Maybe they were mine. I'm sure there's some eminent business people here, and I thought I could pay off the South Pole debts by walking to the North Pole. It tripled the debt, but who gave a hell in the end? Off we go. This time, 8 of us from 7 nations will walk 700 miles from ice on land, 700 miles away from land, into the middle of a frozen ocean. So every day you're moving away from the safety of land. Walking to the North Pole is really totally unnecessary. It's so physically hard. You're walking across terribly hard terrain. This would be our home for 56 nights in a row. And we had to learn inside this tent all kinds of things, such as patience. Check out Darrell on the right, who would become the first American in history to walk to the North Pole. He comes from Harlem, New York City. Look how much Darrell loved Rupert's music. But patience. Patience is a key part of our whole mission. And here's me coming in from washing at minus 72 Fahrenheit, naked. Gentlemen. On closer inspection, gentlemen, you will notice clearly that there is absolutely nothing hanging down in the central area of the photograph. It is your job, gentlemen, to explain to our esteemed ladies later why and how this happens to a naked man at minus 71. Let's just say it's a bit chilly. So, we are now 642 miles from land, in the middle of a frozen ocean. And we're nearly there, 100 miles to go. And the only thing we hadn't planned for promptly happens. The entire ocean, 27 years ago, melted beneath our feet 4 months before it ever had. Now, 27 years ago, climate change, global warming, sustainability, none of those words existed. And all I realized on this day is that I knew who I was on this day. And I wasn't a polar explorer. I certainly wasn't an environmentalist. I was too stupid to be a scientist. But what I was and what I am is a damn good survivor. I'm really good at staying alive. It's my job. And I realized on this day is that we were dead. We were going to die. The entire ocean is moving towards us. And do remember, we're British led. So we don't have a kind of live TV CNN camera feed with a helicopter. We don't have a Russian submarine there just in case we might get our feet wet. No one knows where we are. And we're dead. But sometimes you can think well outside what's possible, and we cheat time. At the North Pole in summer, time doesn't exist. Why? Because it's 24 hours of daylight. So instead of running 24 hours a day, for the only time in my life, I order something. I order 40-hour days. 1 hour's sleep a day, that's it. We've got to race this ice or we're dead. And I'm sorry to show you the next picture first thing in the morning, but we're not some survivor discovery program where you can do a bit of surviving and then check into the Four Seasons for some nice pillows. When things go wrong for us, it's not good. Darryl, our brave American, his heel drops off his foot, 115 clicks out. He keeps walking on that foot. He's got to. And the last few miles to the North Pole, we got some luck. Wind changed direction, ice came together, and we got there. Yes, job done. And I flew a flag, which I think's still important, because we'd done it. Not individually, we'd done it. And I became the first person stupid enough to have walked to both poles. Great day. Got back home, thought I could have a cup of tea with my mum, but no. Jacques Cousteau hauled me in. He said, "Robert, what are you doing for the next 50 years? I could hardly stand." And I said, "Well, can I sit down?" And he said, "Yes." And he gave me 26 years ago a 50-year mission. In the year 2041, the treaty that preserves Antarctica, all of us own it, could stop, could be changed, could be altered, and we could be stupid enough to go and destroy the last true great wilderness left on Earth. We have a chance because we all own it. And Jacques Cousteau said, I said, "What about a budget?" He said, "No, forget the budget. Get off and get on with it." And we've been on that for 26 years. We have 24 years to go. Mission 1, practical. And mission 1, involve young people. So we went down to Antarctica, 35 young people, 25 nations. I wish they'd adopted a penguin. Life would have been easier. But no, they spotted 1,500 tons of garbage left in Antarctica by the former Soviet Union, and they said, "Rob, could you move it? It would be very inspirational." We thought carefully, made the commitment. This is the hardest thing I'll never do again. This took 8 years to do. Joint cooperation with the Russian government. Anybody tried one? It's complicated. Over 8 years, because we could only go there 3 months a year, we pulled this all together. Young people. I have a team of 4 people in total. Myself and 3 of the most terrifying women on earth. We make all this happen. Took down a ship, loaded it by hand. That took 4 months. And my mum, who will be 102 years of age in October, her words came to me and she said, "Robert, you can't possibly go to the Antarctic, young man, remove all that rubbish and not recycle it, boy." I said, "Mum, we're on it." So I'm very proud to say that on behalf of Mum, we recycled all of this back in the country of Uruguay, South America. So I have every reason, when I see somebody just dumping something, get hold of it, say, "Listen, and on this day, ladies and gentlemen, the beach was cleared. And it was like Steven Spielberg being there saying, "Action, penguins." And they came out of the sea for the first time in 41 years onto their beach. The most important thing I would like to share with you today is to be relevant. It's very easy to think that we are all relevant. None of us don't try hard in this room. But sometimes you can get stuck. Have a relevancy check, just to see if you're still being relevant. That might be to your family. But have a relevancy check. And on this day, I knew I could not preserve Antarctica by being a garbage collector. How I could help preserve Antarctica would be to think about money. The only reason we go to Antarctica would be for energy. So, I thought, being slow, but I got there, if we use more clean, renewable energy in the real world, save energy in the real world, use different forms of energy that are clean in the real world, guess what? No one will want to go to Antarctica because it won't make financial sense to go there. It's a long way away. It'll cost a lot of money. So I changed the game to try to be a renewable energy champion and tester. To do that, we managed to get a yacht sponsored. Her name is 2041. Any yachts, women or men here? She's done 225,000 nautical miles around the world. And everybody says, why is she called 2041? We can give her them the speech. And as we sailed north from the Antarctic, this happened 15 years ago. The Great Larsen B ice shelf broke off. You all know it. It's 15 years ago that Antarctica went, hello, please listen, things are happening. And our voyage for cleaner energy, this isn't a United Airlines flight plan. This was 8 years at sea on board our yacht 2041. Started underneath the bridge in San Francisco and went around the world 8 times in total distance, showing young people. Young people today, I'm sounding like my father, young people today, but young people today are looking for hope. And they're not finding it because most of it's negative. So show young people things. Don't tell them, show them. So we tried in our own small way to show young people that our yacht could run on renewable energy. Solar panel sails made of recycled plastic bottles, tested different types of fuels in our engines, and built for teachers. Any teachers here today? I love teachers. Well done you. Hard work, unrespected, I salute you. And to help you, teachers, we have built these little education stations all over the world that only run on renewable energy. They run themselves, but they run on renewable energy. And these stations, there's one in Antarctica. There's my home in Antarctica. Girls, check out the plastic flowers. Efforts are made. And this all runs on renewable energy. And if it can run in the Antarctic at -20 outside and +70 inside, it could bloody well run anywhere. And these stations are for teachers. Anybody from India here? My favorite country, well done you, I love your country. If you took a yacht to Bombay, you know, sir, you would end up in customs for a minimum of 27 years, filling in bits of paper. Also, it would be pointless to take a yacht to India. And sometimes being relevant in life requires sacrifice. So I just lived for 4 years in India. Check this out. I'm sure you all know it, but more people live in that circle than outside it. 25 years from now, the power on earth will not be in the West. It'll be in India and China and the people inside that circle. So we need to take them seriously. To take them seriously, I spent 4 years, 5,200 miles on a bicycle around India. Trust me, it's more dangerous to bicycle around India than it is to walk to both poles backwards in your underpants. But the reason I like India, you probably can't see at the back, but the colour of the traffic signal is red. There are no rules. I like the country. And as we went round India, we built education stations for teachers. One at a tiger reserve. We went up to the Himalayas, which only provides, I know there's a lot on water today, but the Himalayas provides 3 billion people with water. And it's melting. So in our own small way, it might not make much difference, but we built an education station in the middle of the Himalayas. I'm so proud of this. We went to a monastery at the end of last year and gave them the first ever electric light from solar. This guy could see what he was doing for the first time in 2,000 years. Fantastic. And this young man was highly impressed to have some solar light to do his homework at night. Small things all together make a huge difference. That I believe in. And we have our own education station here in the USA. It's built in West Virginia on top of a mountain. Well, it's no longer a mountain. It was taken away for coal, but there she is, an old railway car, serves the local community every year. We go to Antarctica. I'm just back a month ago, and we take young leaders, lots from India, lots from China. And ladies, I hope you're proud, because I am. You know, we read every day the horrors and the difficulties in the Middle East. But what we fail to actually join the dots on is that there are, in the Middle East, 150 million unemployed young people. That's half the population of this great nation. And what's a unemployed young person who has no hope going to do? Well, I tell you what I'd have done. I'd have gone wrong. And a Kalashnikov, strapped belt, and 22 beautiful girls in heaven is not a bad idea. So the point is, what do boys think about most? It's girls. So in our own small way, we've involved 80 of the most fantastic girls to come with us to Antarctica from countries that have never even sent a young person, never mind a woman. Try Saudi Arabia. That was a bit of a struggle, but we did it. To come to Antarctica, be hopeful on the environment, go back and inspire young people. What we see in Antarctica every year is terrifying. A month ago, we were there, and it was the hottest day in the history of the Antarctic measured by NASA. 64 degrees in Antarctica. We need to listen. But the good news is, how many people here honestly know that the hole in the ozone is starting to repair itself? Pretty pathetic considering the types of people you are. Why don't you know it? Why don't you know it? I'll tell you why you don't know it, because it's good news. Amy, where's Amy? Don't panic, Amy. But if tonight Robert Swan, officer of the British Empire, was caught with his trousers down in a terrible drug scandal with footballers' wives on the streets of Ketchum, everybody would know everything that we'd done by tomorrow morning by 0800 hours. That's the world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. That's the world that we project upon our young people. We better get good at being in the good news business, or I tell you what, they'll all switch off, and we can't afford that. The good news is, July the 4th, last year, NASA announced that the hole in the ozone is fixing itself because we got our act together. So I was about to go and retire to Hawaii. I was thinking, yeah, a bit of sun, grass skirts, like a bit of action, like thinking, great. But no. NASA come to me and say, Rob, these huge areas of Antarctica are now disintegrating. That bottom one's the size of Texas. And as I speak now, and all of you know this, the Larsen Sea ice shelf is now breaking off, the size of the United Kingdom. And these things are going to and will produce a huge amount of ice, and we need to take it seriously. Look how much ice. So in our own small way, we try, you've seen all these pictures of what will happen, you all know this, but these guys didn't deserve it in the Maldives. They're having to move house. So I thought, okay, what could we do that's best? And I've nearly finished, don't panic about time. So, unfortunately, I thought to myself, what am I best known as? The stupid idiot that walked to the polls. So, to be relevant, sometimes you need to step it up. So we've started what we call the Climate Force Challenge. And as you all know, I'm not political, I'm an Englishman, for goodness sake. But your country just withdrew from a pretty important agreement. And our effort is to try and save 326 million is the population of your country. Over the next few years, we're going to try and pull together the saving of 326 million tons of CO2 as our effort. And isn't it incredible that last week 800,000 Indians got together and planted 50 million trees? And if those trees last 40 years, that's 50 million tons of CO2. If they can do it, we can do it. So, over the next few, there's no rest for the wicked. Over the next thing, we're first going to walk to the South Pole on November the 15th this year to January the 14th next year. We're then going to the Antarctic on our ship. We're then going to the Antarctic on our ship. And just in case we might have rested a bit, we're going to cycle from San Francisco across the whole of the United States of America to go and see Mr. Trump in the White House with some ideas. We cannot. None of us can sit here and complain for the next bloody 4 years because we haven't got 4 years to waste. You know that. And my son, bless his heart, Barney, who's 23, has volunteered, I repeat, volunteered to come and walk side by side with his rather strange father to the South Pole, 600 miles, starting on November the 15th this year. We did the blue line 30 years ago. We're now doing the green line, but we're doing it differently. We will survive only on renewable energy. It's never been done in history before. And working with NASA, we've developed ice melting technology, which is so exciting because it goes direct from solar, and they're going to use this on Mars when they get to Mars. And trust me, the first people who go to Mars will be people like me. It won't be astronauts. There'll be people like me because it'll be a one-way trip. There won't be enough fuel to get back. So it's exciting to work with them. We're working with NRG and Goal Zero, fantastic company helping us with batteries. Bit more walking to do. I'm not looking forward to it. But you know something? If you can do or dream you can, begin it now. For boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So as an Englishman, you got rid of us, I don't think yesterday, a few hundred years ago, but my son and I are back alone, and we're trying to do our best, okay? We're just trying to do our best. And I wish you, the conference, thanks Amy for having the generosity to invite me. Have a fab time. All the very best. Good luck.